Hello, everyone. My name is Oleg Kagan, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator with LA County Library, and I welcome you to Work Ready, Succeeding at Entry-Level Jobs. And now I'd like to tell you about the Work Ready program. Work Ready started in December of 2020 with the purpose of helping people get a job, improve their current work their current work situation, and plan a more sustainable career path. We do that in two ways. One, we lend out laptops and Wi-Fi hotspots out of 20 and soon to be 27 library locations, breaking down one barrier to applying for a job and getting online training. That is the digital divide. People who don't have a computer or the ability to connect to the internet, and we're trying to help out with that issue. And number two, we provide virtual events just like this one on a range of work-related topics, from the basics like resumes, cover letters, and interviews to deep dives into various careers and other subjects that help you succeed at work. And you can see over 50 of those past classes at any time by checking out our work and career playlist on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/LA County Library. Now, the Work Ready program is made possible due to funds provided by the American Rescue Plan. And before we get into our program for today, I also want to tell you about what we have coming up next week. And that is Work Ready, How to Get LA County Jobs. So if you're interested in working for LA County, and LA County currently employs over 100,000 people, we have many departments, many opportunities to get into a variety of careers, including many entry-level jobs. We have a program coming up next week that will give you insight on how to get LA County jobs. And I've posted the information for that in the chat just now. You can click on the registration link. Registering is, of course, absolutely free, just like it is with all of our virtual and in-person programs. And if you're interested in learning about more library programs, head over to our website at lacountylibrary.org. And on the top right-hand side, if you just hover over that events box, you'll get the virtual programming drop down. Click on that. You can see all of our virtual programs, kids, teens, adults, all free and all available to you through Zoom, just like this program. And if you're interested in our in-person events, you can click that events link and you'll get information about events at all 85 of our library locations. And of course, this presentation is being recorded. So if you miss any part of it, don't worry, you'll get the slides and the video link to the presentation in your email next week. All right, I think it's about time that we got into succeeding at entry-level jobs. And to do that, I will turn it over to Ana Silvia Torres, who will kick us off.
Thanks, Oleg. Give us one moment.
There you
Get
go.
our slide up. There we go.
Okay.
All right. Perfect. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Ana Silvia Torres, and I'm a librarian with our adult and digital services team. I'm joined with Oleg, who already introduced himself, and we'll be presenting our program today, Work Ready, Succeeding at Entry-Level Jobs. Next slide, please. Here's our agenda for today. We're going to start off with introductions. Then we're going to look at what is an entry-level job. Next, we'll talk about how to get one. Once you've got one, how to succeed at the job, and then looking forward and what that may look like for each individual. And our description for today's program is as follows. Entry-level jobs are the stepping stone for job seekers across industries. Whether you're looking for a part-time gig while finishing school, or you're hoping to forge a path at the company of your dreams, we're here to offer tips to succeed at your entry-level job. And our objectives for today's programs are that you should walk away with being able to identify what an entry-level job is, know where to find and how to apply for entry-level jobs, and understand the qualities of a successful employee. And with that, I'll turn it over to Oleg, who will talk about what is an entry-level job?
So most people know at least something about what an entry-level job is, but in order to be all on the same page, let's go through a definition of an entry-level job from Indeed.com. An entry-level job is the type of job that typically requires minimal education, training, and experience. Entry-level jobs are available in every industry. Some of them may require higher academic qualifications, while others might involve specialized skills, knowledge, or techniques. And there are a few parts of this definition that we're going to cover a little bit more in depth, but suffice it to say right now, I've broken the two parts of the definition out specifically because there is a main breakdown in entry-level jobs that it's important to highlight. And that is that some entry-level jobs are one-off jobs, or the job that you're going to have, and that's pretty much it. And then there are some entry-level jobs that are career track jobs, so that you start within a career and then you're typically going to progress. So while some people spend their working life in an entry-level job, others take them on at as a beginning to a career or when they're trying to start a new path. So in entry-level jobs, schedules may vary. Entry-level jobs can be full-time, but are also often temporary, part-time, or seasonal. So oftentimes during the holidays at the end of the year, stores will take on additional employees since Christmas shopping can get pretty crazy. For one-off jobs, pay is usually minimum wage or slightly higher, that's currently $15.96 in unincorporated LA County, and starting on July 1st, it's being boosted up to $16.90 an hour. While on the career track, salaries really depend on the specific career. So if you've gone to school to be an IT analyst, for instance, your salary might be different than what it would be to be a teacher's assistant. Similarly, benefits like healthcare or retirement accounts vary with entry-level jobs. Career track jobs are more likely to offer stronger benefits packages or benefits at all, whereas one-off jobs may or may not have any benefits associated with them. But some do. For instance, many years ago, Star Trek generated a lot of buzz when they offered retirement plans for their baristas. So as you can probably tell by now, entry-level jobs have a variety of advantages and disadvantages depending on an individual's needs. But before we move on to how to get one, I'd like to highlight some of the benefits of entry-level jobs. So for this, I kind of want to take a thematic approach, and we'll start with the idea that entry-level jobs tend to have a low threshold of entry, which means you can come in to start an entry-level job at least as far as the one-off jobs without having a whole lot of skills or knowledge. Typically, they'll train you with what they need. So that's especially true in retail and food service. It's partially true in office work. So if you want to be a temp in an office, you'll usually need some sort of computer skills. Usually they're just basic computer skills, the basics of Microsoft Office suite or the Google Docs suite, and the computer based, you need to know how to operate a mouse, you need to know how to answer the phone, those kind of skills. And anything beyond that, they're specific to the organization. They'll usually train you in their procedures and processes. Another benefit of entry-level jobs is that it's a good place to sample a career track or a field. So for instance, if you want to get a job in a specific nonprofit serving a certain community, you can get an entry-level job in that nonprofit and see how do they do the work, how the people in other positions within that company or within that nonprofit organization work, and see if you're interested in moving to where they are. Similarly, if you have worked in food service or retail and you want to try out an office job, you can get a temp position in an office and see if office work is actually for you. Another benefit to entry-level jobs is that it's often easier to maintain a work-life balance because entry-level jobs tend to have a lower levels of responsibility. You can usually finish your shift and then move on with your life without having to think about what happened at work or be worried that something is going wrong in your absence. That's not always the case. There are different kind of entry-level jobs, but often worrying about work when you're outside of work is above the pay grade. Finally, a scheduling flexibility. That's related to work-life balance, but scheduling flexibility is something that is more often associated with entry-level jobs. So you definitely, we'll talk about this later, if you want to get a job, you want to have your schedule a little bit more open, or you want to have some scheduling flexibility. But once you get a job, depending on the position, there may be opportunity for you to have scheduling flexibility. For instance, I have a friend who's worked at Starbucks for many years. He's an actor, and the benefit of working at Starbucks is that they start early in the morning because people need their caffeine rush at 5 in the morning. So he can work the early shift and then go to auditions and classes, etc., go shoot films and do theater during the rest of the day. So there are oftentimes entry-level jobs that will give you that opportunity. So now let's move on to perhaps what you all came here for, and that is how to get an entry-level job.
Thanks, Oleg. So now that we know what an entry-level job is, now it's time to look at how to get one, where, things to consider, and we'll be covering that in this portion of the presentation. Next slide, please. So good kind of rule of thumb in general for any big life decision is to look at your goals. What are your goals in getting an entry-level job? Everyone has different goals. Everyone has different long-term and short-term goals. So we've identified a few questions that you can ask yourself during the process of figuring out what kind of entry-level job that you're interested in. For example, what kind of work do you want to do? Do you want to get into an office job, retail? What kind of aligns with your goals, with the skills that you want to learn, the skills that you already have? Also schedule, Oleg talked about flexible scheduling, or the kind of work that allow you to just do your job and then check out at the end of the day and you're done until you don't have to worry about your job until you come back the next day. So what type of schedule are you looking for? Long-term or short-term goals? Are you looking to start at a company where you would like to stay there for the rest of your career or for a long time, looking to move up? Or short-term, is this something that you just need to do while you figure out if this is something that you want to do? And sometimes it can be a little bit of both. For example, when I was considering librarianship, a short-term goal of mine was to get a job, an entry-level job as a page in the library system, so that I can get a feel for if I liked it. And that tied into my long-term goal eventually when I decided that I did like it and I wanted to become a librarian. So sometimes it can be a little bit of both, and that might be something that you want to consider. Also benefits. Oleg did mention benefits. Sometimes there's different packages with the different jobs that are offered to you. Sometimes you may be getting a lower salary, but the benefits package is much better and vice versa. So what's important to you? Do you want to have health insurance, a retirement plan, vacation days, things like that? You might want to consider that when you're looking at different entry-level jobs. And this sort of ties into scheduling as well, but what kind of work are you looking? Supplemental work, just a second job? Do you just need something with a steady paycheck? Maybe you are in a creative field and just having a steady paycheck can help you pay your bills and you're able to dedicate the time that you need to while you get your creative field, your creative endeavors off the ground. So these are some really good questions to consider, but there are many more, but these will help you sort of get started with forming an entry-level job search game plan. And then when you come to actually looking for jobs, you have some idea of what you want, and then that will help you narrow down your search. Next slide, please. So we identified also some job seeking processes. So there's both online and offline, and of course you can combine these different approaches. But the first thing is consider your skills. Now, entry-level jobs, as we've covered, do require minimal skills to get started. Most of the most basic things that you're going to do on the job, you will be learning, you will be trained to do. but you still need to learn some things, right? If you want to work in retail, you still need to have some social skills, right? You're going to be working with people. So having social skills, being courteous, being polite, respectful, these kinds of things are sometimes they're innate. We don't really need to be trained on. And then other times we may have picked up some skills. If you're looking for admin work in an office, then just basic computer skills, how to answer the phone, maybe even basic Excel skills or something that you may already have. So consider those skills that you already have and if they align with the type of work that you're looking for. Also, be prepared to get your resume ready and to customize if needed. This is for different kinds of jobs. Some jobs don't require you to have a resume and some will. And so you may need to customize according to the job description and what they're looking for. And then the third thing that we think is a good thing to do is to activate your network. As soon as you put the word out that people that you're interested in work, and especially if you know people that work in an industry or in a company, then you can let them know and they already will have you in mind when a position becomes available, or maybe they've heard that a job is hiring, that this company is hiring, or that a job is becoming available. And your network can be, your friends, your family, any social groups that you belong to. If you're an alumni of a college, any associations that you belong to, that's your network, and you can activate it, and then they can work with you and on your behalf and looking for jobs for you. And then also set aside some time. Looking for jobs can feel like a job in and of itself. You're looking at job descriptions, you're filling out applications. If they require resumes, then you're writing those, you're customizing those. Sometimes jobs require cover letters, so you're writing those. So it can be very time consuming and very overwhelming. So do set aside some time so that you're not rushed. You can think clearly, you can make sure that every little detail is set in order before you send off your application. And then we have a chart here that sort of just kind of compares online and offline approaches. So for example, if you're looking for jobs, job listings are a good place to start, and websites, things like LinkedIn, Indeed, Monster. These are really reputable job listing sites that you can look for different kinds of jobs across networks and industries. And then, of course, your network, your personal networks, as we've already talked about. So utilize those job listings and those job boards for online. Offline, there's that more traditional, going door to door, going to the mall, or going to anywhere that has a lot of different stores, or any place that you can just walk in and ask for an application. Sometimes they have now hiring signs outside. So whatever strategy works for you for offline, but typically it would be door to door, and you want to set aside some time to do that, especially if it's in a mall. You can just kind of get a few done in a day. And then for online, you have the option of reviewing the job descriptions, and that will allow you to research the skills, right? Most job boards and job postings that are online will have really detailed job descriptions. So you already know what they're looking for, and you can kind of align that with the skills that you've already identified that you have or that you may need to pick up on. And then for offline, there's typically not a job description, and sometimes it's more of an oral, this is what the job entails description. So for that, you can just fill out and return the application. And then the advantage of an offline returning and filling out an application is that you can follow up. With online, if that's something that is available to you, maybe if a smaller company has something that you can follow up with, but typically you would fill out the application, and then from there it's more of a waiting game. But offline, you do have the option of maybe calling the person that you returned your application to and just following up with them. And then with all of this, we did want to show you what looking for a job online looks like, as that's a really accessible way of looking for jobs. Everyone with an internet access can look for one. So we're just going to do a quick little demonstration, and I'm going to show you how you can search for jobs. So if we can just give us a moment to switch gears here. Let me share my screen. All right, so should be seeing my screen. Let us know in the chat if you don't. So we're going to look for a job at Subway, right? There's Subways all over the place, and this is a good entry-level job. So I'm just going to put Subway jobs. That's, you can put Subway jobs near me, wherever company that you're looking for. You can just type in the name or the position, and then jobs near me or applications. Any of these keywords would work. And then before we get into the actual application, I did want to note, when Oleg and I were putting this together, we found some interesting things with looking at jobs, we're searching for jobs online. Sometimes you'll have third-party companies that look like they're offering applications, but sometimes they're not really going to help you at all. The best rule of thumb for looking for jobs is to go to the company's website, or you can type it into Google, but the link that you click on, make sure that it is actually the company website. And then with that also, if you're applying for a large company like Subway, sometimes you'll get links to other countries. Something we also learned while we were putting this together is I originally clicked on this link right here, and I'm not sure if you're able to see, but it is a Subway link. This is a legitimate link, but it's the Canadian link. So if you click on this, you're only going to find jobs in Canada. So what you can do to narrow down your search is put in your city or wherever you're at, and that would help you out. And so now when I scroll down, and it's not the very first one, sometimes it's the very first one, it should be up here, but sometimes it's not. So you can just scroll down, and then here is the official Subway website, and it actually says US. So this is the link that I want to search for. So I click on that, and then it takes me to their career page. It tells me about joining the team and then the different opportunities. And so I want to start, look at the opportunities that are available to me in my local area. So I'll click on this link. And then there's some more information about Subway and the company, and I'll click on Apply Now. And then I do want to give it access to my location, even though it doesn't narrow down for me. Sometimes you have to manually go in and do these things. So I will once again click, type in Los Angeles. And then I can see the different locations, the different Subway locations, and I can then click on the one that I want to apply to. You do also have the option on clicking on multiple ones. So I'll click on a few, then I'll hit continue. And then this is an online application, so they will need to contact me. So it's okay to give them my email address. So I'll go ahead and type in my email address. And then I will verify that I am not a robot. And then I can get started on the application. And as you can see, this is a pretty quick application. It's step 2 of 3. So once I fill in all of this information and then I specify what position I would like, so I'm going to go for the sandwich artist position. I'm going to then continue to fill out my application, make sure that everything is checked off and that all of the important information, the necessary one, which is the one that has the asterisk, I need to make sure that all of that information is filled out. And then once I do that, there's the schedule, I can put my availability and make sure that everything is filled out. Then I sign it, and then I would click Save Application. And then I assume the next step would be to send off the application. So sometimes it's as simple as a one-page application. Sometimes it's a little bit more detailed. Again, that depends on what kind of job that you're looking for and what their requirements are and the different information that you're required to provide. But this is just kind of a quick little demonstration of how looking for jobs online is really easy, but you do want to make sure that you go on the correct sites. For big companies like Subway, their websites are a good place to start for just general job titles. We recommend things like LinkedIn, Indeed, or if you know of companies or government jobs, things like that, you want to go on those type of sites, and do be careful for about those third-party sites. Sometimes they just want your information, but they can't actually do anything in terms of helping you get a job. So with that, we're going to go back to our application. Our presentation. So let me stop sharing my screen. And okay. Okay, and then now we're going to look at some more job getting tips for you. So once again, we already covered set aside some time. As you just saw with the Subway application, that was a pretty easy application. You could probably finish that in a few minutes. Sometimes it's a more detailed application, and then you may also want to do a few while you're already filling out one. You may kind of just want to set aside some time to fill out some more. Again, activate your network. Sometimes that's your best resource. Let people know that you're looking for a job, and you'd be surprised at how many people are looking out for you once you mention that you're on the lookout for a job. And then the next tip is for those of you that are taking the in-person route. when you walk into a place and you're looking for a job, be courteous, look presentable, don't bring friends or family. These are just kind of basic tips. People want to get a good feeling when you come in about you, when you come in and ask for a job, because in their mind, they're thinking of you as a potential coworker, someone that they are going to share some time with, and they want to see that you're someone who's serious about the job. Now, you don't obviously have to wear a business suit to go look for a job, but just look presentable, semi-casual. If you're unsure of what that means, you can always Google semi-casual, presentable ways. And then don't bring friends or extra people, because that might be a concern for supervisors. They might think that, if you're a teenager, for example, and you're bringing in a lot of friends, they might think your friends are going to hang out at the store or wherever it is that you're applying. So just keep that in mind when you're walking in. Be courteous, look presentable, come in alone. And then this next tip is very important. Ask others to proofread materials. I can't tell you how many times I have started a project or paper and my eyes have glazed over the most obvious typos. I think we've all been there. So ask someone to proofread your resume and your cover letter. These are really important documents, and you want to make sure that every I is dotted, and so that it looks the best way that it possibly can before it goes out to prospective employees. And then review or learn your skills. So when you're looking at those job descriptions, it will tell you, especially those online ones, it will tell you what they're looking for. So if you know those skills, then just refresh them. If you don't know those skills, then taking a little course. We offer LinkedIn Learning here at the library. So for example, if the job requires basic Excel skills, then take a LinkedIn Learning course. Sometimes they're as quick as 20 minutes or just little tidbits. You don't have to watch the entire course, but just refresh yourself. I recently had to do that when I was last week. Actually, I took a LinkedIn course with Excel because I needed to do a spreadsheet. So just review your skills so that you're more prepared for the job. And then open your schedule as much as possible. The benefits of entry-level jobs, of course, are that there are a wide variety of schedules, and depending on the type of job that you're looking for, you could work at night shift, you could work the morning shift. Just be as open as you possibly can. Of course, we all have different things that we're juggling, so sometimes you just can't work a certain time. But if you open yourself up to being flexible to your schedule, then you're already a great candidate for someone who's looking for a flexible employee that can work kind of any schedule. And then prepare for exams. That could be a test or an interview or a combination of both. I once applied for a library job that said that I had to do an examination, and that required writing an essay and then also taking an interview, doing an interview, and that both of those things were the examination. Then I was graded and I was given a score. And then I applied for another job, another library job, where all it was an interview, and that was considered the examination. Either way, it's good to be prepared. For interviews, you're always going to have to interview, so whether it's called an exam or not. So a good thing to do is just prepare for the interview. If you know people who work at the company, if you have friends in the field, or even Google can be your friend, just basic interview questions for this particular field or job. Just be prepared. The more prepared that you are, the more likelihood that you will get the job. And next slide, please. So now we're going to move on to the last portion of our presentation, and that is succeeding on the job. So congratulations, you've got the job, and now you want to know how you can succeed at it. And it's very simple. Stick to the basics. And then what are the basics? It's be on time, do the job, be respectful, and ask questions. These 4 things, if you're doing all of these things, if you do all of these things, then you're already guaranteed to succeed. If you're on time, no one can complain about you. If you do your job, no one can complain about you. If you're respectful and easy to be around, no one can complain about you. And if you ask questions, then that means that you're going to know how to do your job properly. So just stick to these basics and you're on the right path. But of course, there's much more. Another thing that you can do is research the culture. This can also be something that you do before you get the job, before the interview, for example. There are sites like Glassdoor and Indeed where former employees or current employees will write reviews about the job and the culture. So that's just a good thing, whether you're in the application process, the interview process, or you're already there. Just research the culture, and so you're not surprised and you know what to expect. Next is learn the policy and procedures. If you work for a big company, you're probably not going to remember every single thing off the top of your head, especially if it's something that is a little bit rare. But knowing where to go to, who to ask about policy and procedures, that's something that you definitely want to know. So that way you know how to do things properly when things occur. Next is volunteer for assignments. This can be anything from your supervisor needs people to work on an assignment or a project, volunteer, or it could be something like covering a shift for a coworker. These things will just put you on the radar of your coworkers and your supervisors, and you're just going to be someone that they think about when it comes times to giving other opportunities to. And when it comes to just helping out a coworker covering their shift, if you need that in the future, then they'll most likely help you out too, because you've helped them out in the past. So volunteering for assignments within reason, of course. You don't want to overburden yourself either. You don't want to, put more on your plate than you can handle. But if it's something that you want to do, something that you can do, that you can help out with, then that really will make you a really great employee and someone that people want to work with and think highly of. And then also build relationships with colleagues, staff, managers. Generally, when you enjoy the people that you're working with, you enjoy your job a lot more. Also, it can help you if you are someone who maybe you're starting at an entry-level job in a company, but you would like to move up in the future. These people can help you. Or if you are a student and you're taking on an entry-level job, these people can serve as your reference. One of my first entry-level jobs, when I went off to apply to librarian jobs, my best references were my entry-level job supervisors and coworkers. So building relationships with your coworkers and your team is a good way to go. And then be open to change, whether you're someone who wants to move on from that entry-level job or you find that you like it and you want to stay there. There's still always going to be some change. New technology is going to impact policies or the way that things are done, new people that are hired, whether that's a supervisor or coworkers. There's always going to be a little bit of change. So just be open to that, be flexible and adaptable, and then you'll be able to succeed at your job. Next slide, please.
All right, so we've gone through a lot today, from defining what an entry-level job is, talking about how to get the job, and figuring out how to succeed at entry-level jobs. So now we're going to conclude with what comes next. So you're on the job and you're doing great. What's next? The nice thing is that typically you have options. If your current position meets your needs, then stick to it until retirement. If not, if are you looking to move sideways, up, or out of the field to another career, you can, in doing that, you can review. We could figure out how to do that, and how to do that is some of what Anna Sylvia spoke about. We can review that. Most notably, stay curious. Many managers out there are looking for potential folks at the entry level. So if you're successful in your role and have the desire to make a change, it may be more possible than you think. But most important to the success of an entry-level job is to stick to the basics. Be on time, do the job, be respectful, and when necessary, to ask questions. Which brings us to the final portion of our presentation, the Q&A. So if you do have questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A, and we will do our best to answer them. Thank you very much for listening, and now we're happy to see and answer your questions. So there was one question that came in, and the question is, do jobs really still do in-person applying? Every time I've asked places in person, they always say that they hire through online means now. So the answer to that is yes, there are still places that do in-person hiring that want you to fill out an actual application. And those places tend to be mom and pop shops, the smaller businesses who don't have a vast online presence and don't have a web developer that will create an application for them. So those places might post online, possibly on sites like Indeed.com or ZipRecruiter, etc. But most often they won't. Most often they hire from the local community, so they might post in a local paper, and they're likely to hire if you just walk in. So, for instance, restaurants, smaller restaurants, those type of places will be, if you come in, they'll ask you for an application. I mean, they'll give you an application. You can return that. Did you have anything to add, Anna Sylvia?
Yeah, just the same. Yeah, I've seen jobs that have now hiring signs. Sometimes warehouses too, they have now hiring signs. So yeah, I think that there are still some jobs, like you said, mom and pops, or sometimes you can just go in, and then they will let you know how to apply. I have a cousin who did that. She went to a store and she asked, how do I apply? And they told her the website. So sometimes even just going in, they'll let you know how to apply, because sometimes websites aren't immediately clear. There's like a separate link. So yes, I would agree with your answer.
The next question is, does the library have entry-level jobs?
Yes, I
We
did
do.
one. We both did.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
at the library, entry-level jobs tend to be the name is different in different library systems. So with the city of Los Angeles, it's called a messenger clerk. Within the county, it's called a library page. They're the very entry-level job at the library is shelving books. You do other things besides shelving books, but your main job is to put, when the books come in, when they're returned and checked in, you're the one who puts them back on the shelf. So there's that job. There's library associate. There's library assistant. Those jobs tend to be the paraprofessional positions in the library world. And so you're the person who might sit at the checkout desk or do some of the technical stuff in the background. And those jobs tend to be entry level. They may require, I think library assistant may require a high school diploma, but I'm not sure. I would have to check the job description for those. But yeah, those are jobs where you'll be trained on the job. You need some computer skills, particularly with library associate and library assistant. You need computer skills, but otherwise you'll get trained on the job. The most important part of that is interest and the ability to work with people.
Yep. And that is the job that I found because I walked into the library. So that's another job that I think for library pages and messenger clerks, I don't think those are posted online. Maybe it's changed, but those are jobs that I think you have to walk in and kind of show interest and speak to someone there.
Yeah, it may have changed with the city because I worked with the city. I started that job in, boy, it must have been 2001, maybe 2002. So that was a while ago. So I think that they're high. I wouldn't depend on my own experience. So yeah, I would ask at the individual library location if they're hiring for library page positions.
Mhm.
All right. So if there's any other questions, now is the time to put them in the Q&A or the chat. We're happy to be here and answer them. Somebody mentioned earlier that they had trouble clicking on the link to the next week's next week's program on county jobs. So I can actually send you a link specifically to that program, to the registration page on the program. I'm going to put that in the chat once again, and hopefully it'll have a better time clicking on that. But if there are no other questions, the only thing I would say is please fill out our post-event survey. We always have post-event surveys after, and those surveys help us by giving us an idea of whether you found this program effective, how we can do better, what we did very well, and also what you'd like us to do programs on in the future. We always use that information. I put all that information together and we use that to figure out what to do in the future, because what's the point of us doing events about to get you work ready if we don't do something that addresses what you need to be work ready. So do tell us. I'm going to post a link to the survey in the chat, and it should also pop up when we close the program. So either way is good. There we are, is the post-event survey. And Sylvia, thank you very much for co-presenting this with me. And for all the folks out there, thank you for spending time with us. And hopefully this has been helpful. We'll see you next time.
So Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks, Oleg.